really curious on how you've approached your solo retreats and kind of your outcomes of it, if you wouldn't mind opening and sharing that.
Yeah, sure. So they weren't for the purpose of reconnecting with myself or blah blah.
Okay.
More like I just wanted to go somewhere and to
Sure.
see a city I haven't seen. Let's say a friend
Yeah.
couldn't do it, or I wanted to
Wander.
go and there was a breakup. Like
Yeah.
all these things, I'm like, well, fuck it. I just want to go and see this trip,
Just go.
go on this trip.
Go. Yeah.
And the way that I think I can look back and process those experience is that I've heard from a lot of like men and women, especially people that like married high school sweethearts, were together for a long time and then got divorced and had to finally live on their own in their 30s or 40s. They
Yeah.
find it very scary because they have no idea what it's like to make decisions on their own or for
Oh
themselves.
gosh.
So
So true. Yes. Keep
I've
going.
seen it even happen to my mother as well. The first time she came to visit me in Barcelona, and she came on her own. Left my dad and my brother at home, and
Okay.
she just came and hung out. And she wanted to. I gave her like an idea to stay, kind of like her own little solo retreat for a week, and then she
Very
had a
cool.
cell phone and these things she told me. She's like, I've never really had a vacation where I could just think about me. And it was nice to like take a walk when I wanted to, go for dinner when I wanted to, like all of these
Totally.
things. And that's kind of how I look at a lot of my trips and why I love travel so much. Because
I feel it, man.
the whole idea about like just making decisions and dealing with it if it does go right or doesn't go right, and
Yep.
or yeah, if it goes wrong, and these things have just allowed me to walk around and like have a laugh with myself and realize that like it's okay to walk around on your own. Like
Sure.
when that trip's over, you go hang out with your partner or your
Totally.
family or your friends, and you kind of
Yeah.
reconnect. And yeah, there's a power of being able to be okay with just being with yourself. It really is. This I just read recently. It's not mine, but like it really is the truly till death do you part experience. It's just
Yes.
it's with yourself. And I
I
think
love
some of
it.
these solo trips for 3 days, a week, like all these things. I think more than a week
Mhm.
gets to be a little much unless you're with a
Totally.
traveling group or
Oh,
whatever.
100%.
But it's something about like just walking around with headphones in, and
Sure. Soaking it in.
there's a personal power in there, and I think that's the way I can best describe it.
I love that, Michael. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think at the root of it, and this is what I think about a lot of time, but this last weekend, I saw it with my nephew, is the power of imagination when we were young, when we were kids. Like, let's go back to like the beginning of everything for everybody, right? We were
Mm.
all curious and we all had this incredible imagination. Most of the times we played with ourselves. We played and we built toys and we kind of had this alone time. We don't get that anymore as adults. So I think that's super important to kind of go back. Again, history repeats itself. So let's go back to when we had that imagination. Let's rekindle that. And a solo retreat, to your point, how you do your solo retreat is extremely impactful. One of my best friends who actually went on as well, uh, his thing is being curious. He loves to be curious. His thing is he goes into coffee shops, he'll go into bars and restaurants and sit at the bar and just talk to people. What are they doing? What are they up to? And that's his like form of curiosity. But he's
Right.
rediscovering that from his early imagination as a child. And it's cool to kind of watch that and observe that. I got to see it again firsthand this weekend again of how we played and how we kind of interacted with ourselves before we had all this other stimulus come down on top of us. So I really like what you said with how you interact in your retreats and how you perceive your trip coming into it. What is your intention coming into your trip? And I think it's very cool what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for that. I'm sorry. I'm just sitting with the you said until you enter back into your life and a whole bunch of stimulus is put on
Sure.
top of you. That is such a great way to put it because that's really what it is. Because
Yeah,
stimulus
it
doesn't have
is.
to be good or bad. And sometimes
No,
it's just kind of everything. And
totally.
so if you don't have a moment to take a breath and be like, is everything I've been doing the last little while what I want to be doing, or is
Yeah,
am I just been thrown around in the washer of life and I'm going to see how I come out after the cycle's done?
exactly. Exactly, man. I I fully believe in that. I think travel, I know we have a lot of similarities in travel and how we think of travel. I think travel
Mm,
sculpts us and shows us experiences that we, and new
yeah,
cultures and new ways of living outside of our bubble. And I think it's so important for everybody to travel. But your point there,
yeah.
it's like, what happens? Like, how do we come out of the wash, or how do we come out of the dryer, like you mentioned? I love that analogy.